Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steve Young unloads on Cowboys, calls them so freaking cooked. When in doubt, pile on the Dallas Cowboys. The San Francisco 49ers have owned their longtime rivals, delivering yet another defeat to owner Jerry Jones' squad in Week 8 prior to going on the bye. And while the Niners have had troubles of their own this season, few dramatic fall-offs this season have paralleled all that Dallas has had to endure. Quarterback Dak Prescott is sidelined with a hamstring injury. All-Pro edge Micah Parsons is banged up. Tensions appear to be brewing within the Cowboys organization, too, especially with Jones' recent radio rant when things started to fall apart. A bad defense? A non-existent rushing attack? Questionable moves at the NFL trade deadline? If you want drama, the Cowboys have plenty of it. At 3-5, just a game above the lowly New York Giants in the NFC East, Dallas' problems aren't going to be solved anytime soon. And it'll be yet another year of frustrations out in Texas. Much to the delight of San Francisco fans everywhere, probably can toss in 30 other teams' fan bases, too. Oh, and Hall of Famer Steve Young weighed in. Have to mention that. Appearing on his weekly show on KNBR 680, Young didn't hesitate to rant about just how done the Cowboys are this season. Seriously, it's pretty epic. The Cowboys are so freaking cooked, Young exclaimed. They are done. It's not even close to Thanksgiving, and they are done. There's nothing there. Judging from the tone of Young's voice, it doesn't sound as if he's complaining. Rather, the sentiment is rather humorous, particularly coming from a 49ers perspective. Young even dared to suggest the G-Men are in better shape than Dallas, too. They're underneath the Giants right now, Young continued. Sure, the record might say otherwise. But that's not the point. And Niners fans can collectively laugh at yet another lost season out in Big D. NFL fans stunned by Dak Prescott's devastating injury diagnosis. NFL fans are shocked by the incredibly painful injury diagnosis announced for Dak Prescott. Originally, it was thought that Dak had just suffered a minor hamstring injury, but the details have turned out to be far more painful and severe. Dak may be heading to the IR, and the Dallas Cowboys season is effectively over. A partial avulsion of his hamstring tendon, which is partially torn off the bone. This is a devastating and painful injury as the hamstring muscle has been ripped off the bone. Injuries of this nature need much more than just a little bit of therapy and will require many weeks before Dak can play again. He is almost certainly going to go on the IR, and he may not be coming back this season. As the #Cowboys weigh in on Dak Prescott's IR status, sources tell me the initial diagnosis is a partial avulsion of his hamstring tendon, which is partially torn off the bone. I'm told it typically takes more than a 4-week recovery. In some cases, they let it scar over, repair, and then strengthen. With that being said, Prescott is seeking other opinions, which is why there is currently a reluctance to place him on IR or make any determinations about a timeline for return, Slater wrote. As the #Cowboys weigh in on Dak Prescott's IR status, sources tell me the initial diagnosis is a partial avulsion of his hamstring tendon, which is partially torn off the bone. I'm told it typically takes more than a 4-week recovery. In some cases, they let it scar over, repair. Dak is quitting, Jones said yesterday morning on the facility. And it's crazy because it ain't even funny though. My man is quitting on these dudes. I've had a hamstring injury plenty of times. And I'm back the next week. I'm not Tyreek Hill. It don't take no 4 weeks for you to heal from no hamstring. You're no Lamar Jackson, you're not Jalen Hurts. You're not running, where are you running to? 4 weeks? Basically put me on ice for 4 weeks. No fight, no nothing. Fans have all been taking to social media to rip the former Super Bowl champion for his awful take, but wait, I thought he quit on his team. Jones, one user replied, tagging Jones. But Jones told me he quit on his team, wrote another. Imagine that, torn off the bone. Hot take by Jones that number 4 quit. What a whack show at the facility. FS1, only way they get views with Dak and the Dallas Cowboys in their mouth. Sounds like Diggs need to hook them up with some of D's nuts, a third wrote. Jones could not even wait for the show the next day as he quickly walked back all of his comments and sent his prayers for Dak to hopefully have a smooth and quick recovery. Nah, this can't wait until tomorrow. That's my fault, seeing the reports of how bad it might be, that's tough. Godspeed Dak. The Dallas Cowboys lost 3 straight games to fall to 3-5 for the season as they enter the second half of the campaign. Besides trading for Jonathan Mingo, they largely decided to stand pat at the deadline. The biggest thing they need to figure out for their Week 10 matchup against the Eagles and beyond is their quarterback situation. Dak Prescott suffered a serious hamstring injury last week, putting his status for the rest of the season in jeopardy. While the Cowboys have to find an answer between Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, the rest of the league is making roster moves. The NFC East rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, reportedly made a change to their QB depth immediately following the trade deadline. Per Eagles insider Jeff McClain, Philadelphia released former Cowboys signal caller Will Grier from their practice squad. Mike McCarthy shamelessly blaming Cowboys players to save his own job. The Dallas Cowboys' disastrous first half of the season has finally taken its toll on head coach Mike McCarthy. The usually stoic McCarthy took his frustration out of his tablet on Sunday, smashing it on the sidelines during the game. McCarthy losing his temper after a 3-5 start is certainly understandable. What is less forgivable, however, is his tendency to throw his players under the bus. After Sunday's loss to the Falcons, McCarthy did more of the same, blaming mistakes, penalties, and self-inflicted wounds, per The Athletic's John Machota. Ever since he took the Cowboys' job in 2020, McCarthy has been complaining about penalties. Even in his remarks, he mentions his frustration about the repetition of these pre-snap penalties. At some point, it has to be on the coaching staff to minimize these mistakes. The fact that the team has the same issues week in and week out reflects poorly on the coaches. Penalties are certainly a problem for Dallas. They rank second in the league in false starts with 16 and average almost 8 penalties per game, one of the highest marks in the NFL. At the same time, the Cowboys have much bigger problems. There have been multiple questionable play calls on Sunday, including one of the worst fake punt attempts in recent memory and a disastrous jet sweep for CeeDee Lamb on a 4th down. Those plays have nothing to do with the players not executing well or making mistakes. Those are entirely on HC Mike McCarthy. McCarthy is certainly feeling the heat. He is already on an expiring contract, and it's getting harder to imagine him staying past this season. As a result, he is desperately trying to convince everyone that he is not to blame. Whether that is working on Jerry Jones remains to be seen. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Mike McCarthy? Leave your opinion in the comments.